Hi, my name is Ovsanna Simonyan, and I will be talking about operating risk of foreign exchange management. So, what is operational risk? It's a form of risk that summarizes the risks a company or firm undertakes when it attempts to operate within a given field or industry. In the foreign exchange market, operational risk arises because of exchange rate changes, which may alter the value for future revenues and costs. Operational risk for foreign exchange in particular involves problems with processing, product pricing, and valuations. These problems can result from a variety of causes. Economic exposure risk, also known as operating exposure risk, is caused by the effect of unexpected currency fluctuations on a company's future cash flows and market value, and is long-term in nature. The impact can be substantial, as unexpected exchange rate changes can greatly affect a company's competitive position, even if it does not operate or sell overseas. For example, a U.S. furniture manufacturer who only sells locally still has to contend with imports from Asia and Europe, which may get cheaper and thus more competitive if the dollar strengthens. Economic exposure deals with unexpected changes in exchange rates, which by definition are impossible to predict. Since a company's management base their budgets and forecasts on certain exchange rate assumptions, which represents their expected change in currency rates. In addition, while transaction and translation exposure can be accurately estimated and therefore hedged, economic exposure is difficult to quantify precisely and as a result is challenging to hedge. How do we determine operating exposure? First, are the markets where the company gets its inputs and sells its products competitive or monopolistic? Operating exposure is higher if either a firm's input costs or product prices are sensitive to currency fluctuations. If both costs and prices are sensitive or not sensitive to currency fluctuations, these effects offset each other and reduce operating exposure. Secondly, can the firm adjust its markets, product mix, and source of inputs in response to currency fluctuations? Flexibility in this case would indicate lesser operating exposure, while inflexibility would suggest greater operating exposure. Managing operating exposure. Some operational strategies include diversifying production facilities and markets for products. Diversification would mitigate the risk inherent in having production facilities or sales concentrated in one or two markets. However, the drawback here is that the company may have to forego economies of scale. Second strategy is sourcing flexibility. Having alternative sources for key inputs makes strategic sense. In case exchange rate moves makes inputs too expensive from one region. Lastly, we have diversifying financing. Having access to capital markets in several major nations gives a company the flexibility to raise capital in the market with the cheapest cost of funds. Lastly, we have currency risk mitigation strategies. First, matching currency flows. This is a simple concept that requires foreign currency inflows and outflows to be matched. For example, if a U.S. company has significant inflows in euros and is looking to raise debt, it should consider borrowing in euros. Second, we have currency risk-sharing agreements. This is a contractual arrangement in which the two parties involved in the sales or purchase contract agree to share the risk arising from exchange rate fluctuations. It involves a price adjustment clause such that the base price of the transaction is adjusted if the rate fluctuates beyond a specific neutral band. Third, we have back-to-back loans, also known as credit swaps. In this arrangement, two companies located in different countries arrange to borrow each other's currencies for a defined period. after which the borrowed amounts are repaid. As each company makes a loan in its home currency and receives equivalent collateral in a foreign currency, a back-to-back loan appears as both an asset and a liability on their balance sheets. Lastly, we have currency swaps. This is a popular strategy that is similar to a back-to-back loan, but does not appear on a balance sheet. In a currency swap, two firms borrow in the markets and currencies where each can get their best rates and then swap the proceeds. There are several other practices that firms can follow in order to reduce the operational risk in the foreign exchange market. Some include as simple as knowing your customer, so getting a good background check and trying to develop that relationship in order to build trust. Others include determining documentation requirements, agreeing upon trading and operational practices, closely monitoring off-market and deep in money options, and so much more. To learn more, please visit the website provided in the video description. Thank you.